Alright, so in this video I'm going to install WordPress manually. Maybe my control panel did not have an option to install any kind of WordPress, or maybe I did something, I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons you may want to do this manually. I typically do it manually just because I like to do it for whatever sick, twisted reason. So to do that, it's very simple to do. You can do this on any hosting environment. We're going to go to wordpress.org. Now remember, it's not .com, it's .org. There's a little difference there. The .com is the blogging platform. The .org is the kind of the resource center if you want to learn more about WordPress. They have a lot of good information here. All you have to do is go, it's always in the same spot. Up here it says Get WordPress. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And we'll download the most current version right here. So I'll say download, and I'll save it to my desktop. And again, depending on when you install this, you will probably see version 5.0 or 5 point something. I know they are getting ready to come out with that here pretty soon. I think they're already testing it out for the most part, but you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. There will be some differences, but nothing that's really going to affect what you do. All right, so within a couple seconds there, you can see that this has downloaded to my desktop. And I'm going to come back to my control panel up here. So there's going to be two things that we want to do. For one, we need to upload these files, and we need to decompress them. The other thing is we need to create a database. Ooh, big scary database. Don't worry about it. I'm going to walk you through that. It's very, very simple to do. All we need to do is create an empty one, and there is a wizard that will help us kind of walk us through the steps of what we need to do. And we'll get that all set up and running. Then we'll connect the two, and we'll have an up and running website here in less than 5 minutes. All right. So we're going to go to File Manager here at the top. And again, we want to make sure that we are in the root directory of the kind of the hosting account of where your domain name is pointing to. This is kind of outside of the root. All this stuff right here, this makes up things that do different things for your website. Does different checks, emails, things like that. Just tracks login information. We want to make sure that we're in this public public HTML. Sometimes you'll see a folder that just says www. They really basically take you to the same spot. You can see actually there's one right here, but there's a little link right there, meaning that it's an alias where it just takes you into here. Public FTP, that's where people could upload files to if they were, maybe like a print shop or something where they were transferring files. Good place, just kind of keeps it separate from your hosting, but we don't really worry about that. We're only worried about this public HTML. I'll double click that. You can see this is completely empty right now. And what I need to do is go to the upload button. There's a whole bunch of options here across the top. Most are grayed out because I have nothing selected. I'm just going to go to upload. Now, depending on your host again, you may have this kind of HTML5 version where you can just drag and drop a file onto here. You may have to go search for the file. Again, it just depends on the host that you're on. So I'm going to take this file, I'm going to drag it right over to here. And you'll see the progress bar. It should only take a couple seconds to do. It's really pretty quick. Now, as long as the bar is blue, that means it's not complete. You'll see that the bar is actually blue and it's set 100% there. Sometimes it actually sticks around for a couple seconds. So you may want to make sure that just wait till it turns green, and then you'll know you're all done. Now I can close this window out and I'll come back to my hosting. All right, so here's my public HTML file folder, and there's nothing in it. All right, so what you need to do is you need to refresh it. This is not constantly updating itself, so we just need to upload it, or reload it right here. So I click reload. And we'll see that my files are right up there, but they're still zipped. So where's all those files that I need? So across the top up here, you'll see some different options as well. And we're going to say extract. We're going to extract all the files that are in this compressed folder that make up our WordPress site. So say extract. And I'll say, where do you want to extract them to? Public HTML is where we want to go, so just leave that as it is. And we'll say extract files. All right, so say close that out. All right, so the files are still not where I wanted them to be. Now WordPress does this the way that it's zipped. It just kind of creates this folder right here. So I have to take one extra step. I have to go into this WordPress folder. I'll double click that. Now there's all my files, but they're in a folder. So I need to pull that back into my main directory. So I'll say select all, and then I'll click on move. I want to move these back a folder. So remember, we were in that public HTML. That's where we want to be. These are in this folder called WordPress. All I have to do is just simply delete that word and hit OK. You'll see all the files all of a sudden disappear. And if I come back to public HTML, all my files are now in here. Now, one important thing to do is you don't want any folders with nothing in it. So come back up to this empty WordPress file and we'll say delete. In fact, I'm going to delete this installable version of WordPress as well. Just no need to have that. I'll say skip the trash and done. All right, so now I have a perfectly installed version of WordPress of the files. The second half of this is installing the database. Let's come on back to the, don't need that anymore, come back to the control panel and we'll say, okay, now we need to create a database. So we come up to this MySQL database wizard. There's usually a couple different SQL or PHP MyAdmin, all these things under databases. In this case, we want the wizard. That's going to help walk us through creating a database. Now we have to give it a name. Now this you definitely want to write down because you're going to need this for the next step. So it's going to say create a database name. I just give it like 3 or 4 random letters. And I'll copy both the first part of it and the second part that I just typed in right here. All right, so you can see I just copied it so it looks just like that right into here. You will need this here in a second, so make sure you have it ready. So next step. Now I like just, most people say not to have the same username and database name. I keep them the same just for simplicity. So I put that in there, and I usually like to generate a password. So I'll copy that information and I'm going to put it right below here. So these are the 2 things that I'm going to need to finish installing my WordPress website, is those 2. So I'll say close. Now I have a kind of a password saver, so sometimes this stuff defaults back. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste that back in. I'm going to say password and password again. It's asking for it again just to confirm it, and I'll say create user. So that just created the database for me. Now one last question is, what privileges do I give this database? In this case, I'm going to say all privileges. That's going to keep it nice and simple. And I'll say next step, all set. So I'll return home. All right, so the very last step we need to do is go to our domain name. And in the next step, I'm going to show you how to connect your domain name and then test this out.